We talk about business model innovation, even arts and cultural innovation. It's everywhere. Well, for Hong Kong, innovation, of course, is not new. It has been in our DNA, I would say, of Hong Kong people for a long time. From way back as a fishing village, Hong Kong has already risen to become Asia's world city, all because of innovation. We have no resources, but our people have ample amount of innovation. In the 80s and 90s, we started to tap on the cheap land and labor resources in the mainland to become one of the world's top producer, as you will recall, in electronics and toys and watches and jewelry and all that. And the model had worked so well that the Western world had followed. That in turn created the golden era of made in China, and now proudly transitioning to made in China. Well, it's too early in the morning. It's transitioning from made in China to made by China. I got to make sure that I correct this one. Now that in turn, shows that the power of innovation has changed the world. It is changing the world, and it will continue to change the world, which is why we are so pleased to see that the Hong Kong government has put in huge effort and resources to fast-track innovation. Well, I know we are far from perfect. We cannot call ourselves exemplary, but there is no deny that our infrastructure, our ecosystem for sci-tech innovation, our advanced legal and professional services, venture capital and incubators, our fundraising ability at the stock exchange are all growing and expanding in the right direction. Our universities, as we often say, are constantly ranked among the top in the world. And you add all this to the National 14th Five-Year Plan, which supports Hong Kong to become a global innovation and technology hub. I would say opportunities abound in Hong Kong, and all we need to do is to step up to the game. Well, against this backdrop, we are very honored today to have our Financial Secretary, Mr. Paul Chen, to give us an opening speech, and the Foundation's Vice Chairman, Dr. Victor Fong, to enlighten us on the subject, the future of Hong Kong as a regional innovation hub. After Dr. Fong's keynote address, he will host 3 distinguished panelists, Dr. George Lam, Dr. Sunny Chai, and Mr. Simon Lone for a discussion. Well, they're all innovators in their own ways. We're very, very grateful to them for giving us their time this morning, and we look forward to hear their insightful sharings. And last but not the least, I'd like to thank our venue sponsor, Hong Kong Land, and Mr. Robert Wong, who's here with us this morning, for giving us the privilege to use this beautiful venue for our Insight Forum series. So without further ado, thank you very much. I hope you will enjoy the forum and have a very fruitful time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Chang, for your welcome remark. Please be seated. We are honored to have the Honorable Mr. Paul Chen, Financial Secretary of the Hong Kong SAR Government, with us this morning. May we now invite Mr. Chen to give us an opening speech. Mr. Chen, please.
Victor, Eva, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm pleased to join you for this, our Hong Kong Foundation Insight Forum. Today, we set our sights on the future of Hong Kong as a regional innovation hub, one of the 3 forums under the Foundation's Hong Kong Way Forward series. Before stepping into the future, we have to understand where we stand now. We all know the importance of innovation and technology, INT, to our economy as a strong impetus for growth. It diversifies our economy and creates quality jobs for our people. And we are determined to build Hong Kong into an international innovation and technology hub, which is underpinned by the National 14th Five-Year Plan. As many of you are aware, the government has been spearheading efforts in a number of major areas to advance our I&T development so that it would facilitate our economic transformation. We have poured in more resources to build more R&D infrastructures and promote R&D. We have implemented measures to attract more talents and to revitalize our venture capital and private equity regime. We also enhance government's procurement policy to embrace more innovative products and update our legislations. In the past 5 years or so, we have invested over 150 billion for I&T development. The results today are clear and compelling. Even amid the pandemic, Hong Kong startups soared from about 1,000 in 2014 to currently about some 4,000. Over the same period, venture capital investments rose from 1.24 billion to nearly 42 billion. The number of people employed in the I&T sector rose by 30% to more than 45,000. We have also seen growing popularity of STEM in education, with more university graduates majoring in related programs. But in a world where competition for I&T talents and companies is very keen, we must do more. Allow me to touch on a few things that we are working for Hong Kong and the future we can see. We are working out a strategic plan or a roadmap that will set out the directions and objectives of Hong Kong's I&T development in the coming 5 to 10 years. We plan to roll it out within 6 months of this new government. One priority of all this is to build up an overarching ecosystem for I&T. It is essential to promote cross-disciplinary and cross-jurisdictional collaboration among the government, industry, academic, and the research and development sector, so that we will be able to connect upstream research to midstream and downstream market. Hong Kong has long been well regarded for excellence in research, but only when research outcomes are better integrated with commercialization and products could we expect our I&T development to be more sustainably powered. Another focus is I&T infrastructure. Under the Northern Metropolis Development Strategy, the Hong Kong and Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Park and the Lok Ma Chau Shantin area will form the Shantin Technopole. The Technopole, together with the Shenzhen I&T Zone, will rise as a world-class I&T hub, with Hong Kong at the fast-beating heart of it. Joint venture in I&T infrastructure also signifies blooming collaborations between Hong Kong and our sister cities in the GBA. If Hong Kong wants to become a regional innovation hub, we must see each of our strengths and capitalize on them. Indeed, there is much room for Hong Kong and other GBA cities to work together, such as consolidating our I&T resources, including people and capital, and synergizing our research capabilities and marketing potentials. But above all, people are the most valuable assets for I&T. Over the past month or two, in consultations for the CE's policy address, we have fully heard the need for Hong Kong to attract more talent and strategic enterprises to come here to help power our whole I&T sector. Rest assured, we will roll out measures to achieve this. Ladies and gentlemen, We believe Hong Kong is on the right track for INT. With all our endeavors and the strong support of our country, the future of Hong Kong as a regional innovation hub looks extremely promising. My sincere thanks to our Hong Kong Foundation for organizing the Hong Kong Way Forward Forum series. I wish you all a rewarding day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chan, for your opening speech. Please be seated. Without further ado, may I invite our keynote speaker of today, Dr. Victor Fong, Vice Chairman of our Hong Kong Foundation and Group Chairman of Fung Group, to deliver his speech on the future of Hong Kong as a regional innovation hub. Dr. Fong, please.
Okay. Financial Secretary, Eva, fellow panelists, distinguished guests, and all our friends on the web who are joining this from around the world. Really a very good morning to you. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here. At our Hong Kong Foundation, we're very proud of this series. This is coming, I think, at a very important time in Hong Kong's development as we turn to a new chapter and looking really at the long-term competitiveness of Hong Kong. I think today we have a window of opportunity, and really we need to grasp that opportunity without fail. And so this is second in the series. The first was done last month and really focused on Hong Kong's role as an international financial center, which is obviously central. But I think today we're also tackling a topic which frankly is very close to my heart, but also I think is at the core of Hong Kong's competitiveness. And that is Hong Kong as a regional hub for innovation. Now, I think before we start, I don't need to say that innovation is on the mouth of every leader in the world today. You know, you look at every speech President Xi Jinping has made, we talk about innovation. You look at the 14th five-year plan, we talk about innovation. And our leaders in Hong Kong, I think, have rightly emphasized innovation at every turn. You look at the West, you know, I remember Biden's inaugural speech was focused on innovation. So innovation is absolutely the marquee and the focus for the world around. But what I'd like to do is really to dig a little deeper today into the world of the practitioner and beyond all the wonderful measures that government has done in infrastructure and so on to support, to look at Hong Kong, you know, really what does it mean to the society? What does it mean to actually the industry and how important is this role of innovation as we actually develop it? I think innovation is really at the heart of productivity in an economy. And I think an economy can go on, but the key is how to raise our productivity level. Without innovation, we really don't have the right amount of productivity increase, and that does not bode well for the long term of an economy. Also, I think innovation really provides opportunities for startups, entrepreneurs, Paul, which you have done so much to support, you know, the development of venture capital and all the way to nurturing them as eventual unicorns. And we'll be hearing from Simon later on, one of our first unicorns from Hong Kong. And I think this is really very important from a societal standpoint, because not only does it provide opportunity for our young people, but it provides upward social mobility, which is, I think, is absolutely essential. It is to me, it should be the greatest path to social mobility by actually focusing on innovation. And then finally, I think what we need to do is to think about, it pervades the whole society, because if you go behind innovation, what is really the basis of innovation? Of course, we're focused on STEM, rightly so. I come from that whole area, and that is the core of the core. However, behind it is, I think, the whole concept of creativity. You know, how do you actually sort of maintain a level of creativity in a society? And that really goes deep into our education system. I don't know, there's so many educators in the room, I don't know how you teach creativity. Or how do you create a teaching environment in which creativity can thrive? I can't answer that question, I'm just posing it. But I think that is actually at the heart of it. So what I'm really emphasizing is innovation is really at the heart of our society. And it's really at the heart of our economy, at the heart of our industry. What I now like to do is give you perhaps a little deeper dive into what I mean by the innovation process. Now, this is much more from a micro, bottoms up, from a practitioner standpoint, if you would. What is that innovation process? People very often equate innovation with 0 to 1. Very famous author, Peter Thiel, in Silicon Valley, wrote a very important book called 0 to 1. Now, 0 to 1 actually signifies the creation of an idea and all the way to really a working prototype, okay? But I ask the question, is from the idea to the working prototype enough to complete the innovation process? I say absolutely not. To me, the journey has to be from an idea, from a creation, from a scientific discovery, all the way to something, a product that is commercializable, that satisfy consumer demand, that have a place in the marketplace, so that you can actually do mass production and distribution around the world with it. So the process doesn't end with the creation of the prototype. That is perhaps the first stage in the process. The second stage is what I call 1 to 10. Now, what does that mean? That means now that you have the prototype, you've got to actually do enough testing with consumers, okay, to actually find out, does it have all the relevant features? Can you have a different product that actually satisfies the consumer's needs a little bit more? And really what you need is to produce 10 pieces, or sometimes, you know, depending on the product, you may want 100 pieces. But if you're doing a robot, you may only can do 2 or 3 pieces. But whatever it is, it's small lot production. You want to do it very fast and test it in focus groups with consumers who are knowledgeable and give you the opportunity to redesign that product. And if necessary, go all the way back to the zero, all the way back to the origination of the idea or the origination of the invention to do this again. It's an iterative process. And what you need to do is to do this very fast so you can have many iterations in a very short period of time. And I'll mention in a moment how important it is to actually do this in a fast response way and also in small lots. So you don't have to go to factories that cannot produce anything smaller than 10,000 pieces per style or something like that. Now that 1 to 10 stage, I think it's very important and it really perfects the product. Now, can we stop there? I would say no. There is a third stage to this process. Because once you have a product that actually satisfies the consumer needs, it actually says, hey, this, if you have a new razor, it works well, I like the product. You've got to ask the question, how will this product perform in the marketplace? Is it priced properly? How is it positioned relative to the competitors? And then most importantly, what is the size of the consumer market that you can be thinking about production for? You know, all those things in my mind is an integral part of the innovation process. Because the innovation process cannot stop until you have something that is commercializable in scale, okay? So that part of it, I think, is that stage 3, if you would, I'm calling from 10 to 10,000. Because you probably want to produce a large enough lot size so that you can actually do a market test and be able to test the pricing, the positioning, etc., and the appeal, and most importantly, to come out with a sense of the, how big the market is. So this idea of stage 1 is 0 to 1. Stage 2 is 1 to 10, the testing in consumer groups. And then the stage 3 is 10 to 10,000. That, the 3 stages in totality, completes the innovation process. Now, I think Hong Kong is uniquely positioned to actually work on each of those 3 stages. And let me go into why. Because I like to take apart those and really look at it in a little more detail. And we have the wherewithal to put all that together and to be able to create products very fast and eventually in scale. By the way, in our jargon, what we want out of this innovation process is what is known as the tech pack. After this innovation process, what comes out is a product that is capable of commercialization and scaling. So what we need is something called a tech pack. Those of you in manufacturing will know exactly what I'm talking about, which is an exact set of specifications on what the products will do, how much you're going to produce, and what sort of raw materials and parts you need to produce it. Only then are you able to turn it to mass production and distribution around the world. So really, end of that process, it ends with the, if you want to look at very real-world milestones, you end with the tech pack. Until you get there, you haven't done the process. And that is why, in my mind, people, if you don't look holistically at the 3 stages of the process, 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 to 10,000, and complete it, you really haven't completed the process. And you start asking the question, why you have so many new inventions, but there's nothing coming out of the other end of the commercialization? Because you haven't completed the whole process. And I think that is the idea that I'd like to really get across, and which, in my mind, is essential to really developing Hong Kong as a regional hub. Now, let me now turn to each of those stages and where Hong Kong really stands in terms of competitiveness relative to the other parts in the region or indeed around the world. In fact, I talked to my American friends. Silicon Valley is wonderful for 0 to 1. But I asked them, where is the 1 to 10? Small lot production. And more importantly, where do you get the 10 to 10,000 to do your market testing? It is not easy. In some industries, they do very well, but not in all industries. So if we have the ability, which is what FSU was saying, to work closely with the Greater Bay Area and use their capability in different stages, the stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, and see how we can work at each of those stages, then I think we have a holistic model that could really be will be world standard in this part of the world, in the Greater Bay Area. Now, let me focus on stage 1. Sometimes they call it prototyping, right? It's from idea to the first 手板, a hand sample, a working sample. I think it goes without saying, and people have repeated very often, we really have a major advantage here because of our universities. China has 8 universities among the top 50 in the world, according to the Time Supplement, which is one of the very well-accepted measures. And 4 of the 8 are in Hong Kong. Okay, so we have the question is, I think what we need to do is to think about how we achieve that 0 to 1 stage, that prototype, as soon as doing as effectively as we can. So our advantage is very clear in the stage 1. Now, how about the stage 2? This is what I would call the product design stage, where you're trying to perfect the product. Here, I think what you need are a number of things. You need the ability to produce very quickly small lots. Okay, and then you take that to focus groups and test those product features and everything. And when something is not quite right, you immediately go back and produce the second lot with a correction. So it's a constant loop of integration, iteration. And so what you really need, in my mind, is manufacturing 4.0, digital manufacturing, that could actually very quickly, take all this and really get it done and have the ability to do it. Now, this, in my mind, is also ideally suited. If we can think about digital manufacturing factories that are startups that could be done at Science Park or in Cyberport or even in flatted factories, Hong Kong style, doesn't take much land. But you go upscale with digital manufacturing, okay, manufacturing 4.0, it really is an opportunity for us then to do that process well. I would call this an opportunity for the reindustrialization of Hong Kong. It's really focusing on doing the stage 2 of the innovation process and using digital manufacturing to accomplish that. It provides the right type of jobs that allow us to trade up high-level technicians and so on, and it suits our environment because we don't have a lot of availability of land. It's doable in the flatted factories. I think the other thing that are 2 more things I like to emphasize at this stage. Do not underestimate the importance of our airport. Because in this stage, you need availability of parts, you need availability of expert advice that would be able to communicate and come in very quickly, almost instantaneous, so you can iterate very fast. You want to, redesign the product, you need a part, Hong Kong doesn't have it, you fly it in, we depend on the airport, okay? So airport is an integral part of this advantage. And then finally, I'd like to also say the savvy consumers that we have in Hong Kong that are actually quite up to date on fashion, global trends and so on, that will provide the people that you do the focus groups with. If you're doing this in the middle of the jungle and you don't have the consumers to actually test your product, what's the use? Hong Kong consumers have the ability to help us with this stage. And so let's not forget them as one of the major advantages. And then the final stage, I don't think we need to say much. It is absolutely something, the 10 to 10,000. The test market should be on the mainland side of the Greater Bay Area. We've got 80 million very affluent consumers, 20,000 per capita income. And that's where you actually do your test market, the product positioning, the pricing, etc. And that's where you come out. So our ability with the infrastructure to be able to go back and forth, don't forget at every stage, we may need to go back to zero. At every stage, we may go back to zero. So it's a process of iteration. So the infrastructure to allow us to iterate very quickly is absolutely essential. So if in my mind, this is what I mean by the process. I'm going to overrun by a couple minutes, okay? For Eva, I hope you don't mind. I like to just finish a few important points. The first point I would like to just mention very quickly is when you talk about stage 2, and that's in fact mostly stage 3, we will be seeing a stream of new products that we want to do test marketing on. I think we have the opportunity to set up Hong Kong at the retail level like the Tokyo district called Akihabara. I don't know what it's called my son goes to Tokyo. When he gets off the plane, first thing he goes is Akihabara. Why? New products, the latest. If Hong Kong can actually be used also for that purpose, I think it forms an important plank to actually rejuvenate our tourism, which I think is absolutely essential. We need to answer the question of why do tourists today want to come to Hong Kong? And this may be an important addition to why they want to come to Hong Kong. So I think it's something to think about. That's one thing just as a reminder. The second thing I like to say is also, I think, quite important for us to understand, and that is, yes, in many places in the world, innovation is synonymous with technology and STEM. I come from that world. I know exactly the importance. And I still think that is the most important part. However, we must recognize that not all innovation are coming from technology. There are non-technology driven innovation. That is very important. If you really analyze it from a businessman standpoint, it is really innovation in business models that ultimately make a lot of economic sense and make a lot of money. Now, those models could come using technology, which very often it does. And technology is a catalyst for coming up with those new models. But it can also come from things not related to technology, like art and culture, culinary, etc. So for our society, I think we need to also emphasize that you don't really need to be an expert in STEM to participate in the innovation process. And I think that is a very important message, that innovation is really creation, is creativity, and mostly at the end of the day coming up with, in my mind, as a businessman, new business models, new ways of satisfying the consumer, and then giving the consumer a new experience, a new product. And you could do it, and it could be also, by the way, services, which may or may not depend on technology. So I see this as really, number one, absolutely technology-driven STEM. Number two, we need to think about areas that are not technology-driven to actually increase creativity and also to sort of think about how we really create that innovation hub. So, ladies and gentlemen, in summary, I'd like to just say, I've given you a deep dive into the process, the stage 1, the stage 2, the stage 3, and I think Hong Kong has unique advantages in both those stages. But when we put the whole thing together in the holistic, all 3 stages, I think that's when we have arrived in terms of Hong Kong as an innovation hub. And I'm not aware of too many places that actually have those 3 stages. I would say, if you press me, the closest competitor would be Tokyo Bay. They would have actually all 3 stages down pretty well, and we may want to study that as a way to develop ourselves. But our scale and so on, I think, would eventually transcend even the Tokyo Bay Area. So this, in my mind, is going to be the core to our future competitiveness. Because as the world now moves to digitalized manufacturing, and as the consumer gets more and more empowered by technology in this little machine here, I think we are going to need to actually innovate and come up with a large number of new products to actually satisfy an increasing number of niche markets and do it rather quickly. It's a fast response, low minimum order quantity, low MOQ, fast response manufacturing. And I think innovation is at the heart of that. And that, to me, would be the mainstay and the core of Hong Kong's future competitiveness. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fong, for your insightful and thought-provoking speech. Please be seated. After Dr. Fong's enlightening speech, it is now time for the long-awaited panel discussion. Today, we are honored to have 3 distinguished guests from different parts of the innovation ecosystem join us in person to share their thoughts and experiences in a panel discussion with Dr. Fong. The panel discussion will be around 40 minutes, followed by a Q&A section where we'll be opening the floor for questions. So on-site guests and media friends are more than welcome to raise any questions then. Dr. Fong, please join us again. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Hong Kong Land as our venue sponsor for today. May we take a few moments? Dr. Fong, please join us again on stage. May I now invite Dr. Sunny Chai, Chairman of Hong Kong Science and Technology Parks Corporation, Dr. George Lam, Co-Chairman of Hong Kong Aerospace Technology Group and former Chairman of Hong Kong Cyberport, Mr. Simon Loan, Founder and Group CEO of WeLab, to join us on stage. Dr. Fong, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. A big hand for our panelists. These are the real entrepreneurs. And I think what we want to do is learn what we can from them this morning, and thank you for your participation. Yeah, let me start with you, Sunny. You have really saw the development of the Hong Kong Science Park for 20 years now, and have become really a major part of Hong Kong's innovation scene. All the way from incubation to venture capital, and all the stages up to, you know, the nurturing of unicorns. So you've seen all the stages. What I'd like to do is really ask you, you know, is Hong Kong's infrastructure adequate for that? Are you happy with the type of infrastructure that we have today? And what sort of new infrastructure would you see that we need to add to actually continue our progress in innovation? Especially, I have in mind, you know, the Northern Metropolis, and what the FS mentioned is the Suntin Technopole. I don't even know what it really is. So you may want to give all of us an introduction to that.
Thank you, Victor. I think actually all the question you asked were all covered by FS and your speech already. Okay, and of course I have served at Innovation and Technology Commission in the last 16 years, from two R&D centers and then Science Park. And if I have to say, the infrastructure or the support from the government that really took off was really from these 10, 15 years. Okay, of course, Science Park is celebrating our 20th anniversary, and we saw a very tremendous growth. So up to today, we have over 1,100 tech companies at Science Park. Our tech population there is 17,000 people working at Science Park. 11,000 of them are the R&D people. So what does 11,000 means? In Hong Kong, I know there are academia experts here. We have about 40 to 45,000 R&D people in Hong Kong, including those working at university as researchers. So meaning 1 out of 4 researchers, R&D people are at Science Park. So in terms of infrastructure, I must say in the last 2 terms of government, and including this term, the support given was really tremendous. I always say it's a golden stage. It's something that I've been working as an entrepreneur for the last 35 years, and this is something that I've not seen before.
Right.
So the infrastructure given, you can name it, like in Science Park, I mentioned all the facilities in various technology to support startups, tech company growth, communal labs, and also at Cyberport as well. And also at what we used to call industrial estate. Yeah. We have revamped it 2 years ago, sorry. We call it Inno Park now. And we don't just rebrand or just rename it as Inno Park, because we have gone through what you have mentioned in your speech, from 1 to 10, partially of 1 to 10, yeah. Because we've gone through a very thorough consultation. We took 3 years on that. We had consulted with 2 consultants, and we went through all that. The purpose is to follow the government's reindustrialization mandate. Yep. Announced in 2015. Yep. So we have renovated one of our buildings in Tai Po. without major theme.
So you're following this reindustrialization strategy.
Without a major theme of
Yeah,
what we should be doing with that building.
Yes.
So, but after we renovated, it all rented out in 6 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. So it means we had the feeling that people do need to do manufacturing in Hong Kong. So, but we don't know.
Yeah.
What are those?
Well, but in terms of, now that's exactly what I like to do. Just a quick follow-up question before I get to the other panels. You know, in any sort of promotion like this, there's importance of having anchors, right? MNCs. Which industries are you really targeting to actually bring to Hong Kong when you try to? I think we in my mind, we may not be able to be too general. We need to actually make some choices. Where do you think the opportunities are for Hong Kong to attract the types of anchors that we'll need to really stabilize these facilities and so on?
Thank you, Victor. I think my colleagues at Science Park here would like me to say something that I should be saying in the next retreat. Because we have been using the word anchor companies for many years. But somehow, of course, like you mentioned, we were targeting at MMCs. But somehow, I mean, should it just be MMC? So anchor could be any tech company who give great influence to Hong Kong GBA INT ecosystem. We call them anchor.
Okay.
So today our anchor could be SenseTime, could be Huawei, could be a company making the parts for the stand, and could be a company for some electronics modules.
Okay.
But they might not be an MMC.
Okay.
So whoever can join our ecosystem and really contribute to the entire ecosystem and link up the collaboration as a cluster effect, we call them anchor.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be MNC.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sunny. Let me move to you, George. You have been chairman of Cyberport and very successfully you really established a whole fintech industry there. But I'd like to focus more on you as a person and your background. You know, I read your resume, it's very impressive. You go all the way from business, science, all the way to law, and you know, you span the whole range. How do you think that has really helped you in developing your career? And especially, I want to focus on really you as a kind of potential role model for some of our younger people wanting to get into the innovation space. And even more importantly, the type of people that we want to attract to Hong Kong as our talent pool that would actually fuel this whole development of the innovation process.
Thank you, Victor. Actually, you are my role model. And also, Sunny, I like to give a big Thanksgiving actually to the government also for building up the ecosystem. My successor, Mr. Simon Chan, is here. He's chairman of Cyberport. Yes. Now you can come to me for Cyberport support, but he's the right guy. I'll be his quarterback in the community. Now back to the kind of Victor you mentioned before about the Tokyo Bay area, and they try very hard. And I think for Hong Kong, I agree with you. We are probably one of the very few, if any, that can have all stages, as you mentioned. And in fact, I can be as aggressive as saying that we should actually change one word of this good theme, and that is as a global innovation hub, because we are China's global city, and we are Asia's global city, and there's no reason why we confine ourselves, regionally. And this is where we can actually be more competitive to Tokyo Bay Area, because Tokyo Bay Area is more traditional, relatively more inward-looking, a bit more focused on Japanese economy, although they try hard. But Hong Kong is global native, So I think that's one point I like to add quickly. But as to my background,
yes.
I think having the privilege of working with the Cyberport team for the past 6 years, I learned one thing, and that is I'm still a student. We need to equip ourselves all the time. It's lifelong learning. That's very key. And so you keep on equipping yourself, for new opportunities to solve problems. At the same time, it's very important to think about interdisciplinary application and synergy, cross-fertilization. This is what happened to the FinTech hub at Cyberport. You got bankers coming from Central, and we got data scientists and so on working together. And then all of a sudden we say, well, let's do more data-driven innovation for the banking sector and for the insurance sector as well, for example. And then we have arts people coming. You mentioned about creative industry. They work with the digital tech people, and you have art tech, and then so FinTech, art tech, insure tech, and then the lawyers come. We have reg tech, regulatory technology, and law tech, and so on. So this interdisciplinary approach is very important as well. Another thing is it's very important to actually, as you mentioned, the non-tech people should be part of the process. So I think
that's what I was hoping you might say.
It's good to learn about non-tech subjects as well.
Yeah.
My final point is that it's important to really have this teamwork, because in my experience with startups, I think the winning cases are always a team effort. I remember quite a few years ago when I watched the World Cup, I didn't even recognize any German players, but the German team won, because it was teamwork. So, I have nothing to add but to say that, it's a great thing to be an entrepreneur, a tech entrepreneur, but don't just think about money. Solve some problem for society and for the economy, make the world better. So I think, what we can say is emphasizing the global regional, global innovation hub. I think, we stand for global, we stand for green as well, because it's sustainability and inclusiveness, but also governance. We have to do the right things right. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
All the aspects of ESG. George, I was really, thank you very much, because I want you to give a message to the young people. I was trying to get you to say what sort of qualifications you really need to succeed. And what you're really saying is no specific, but you need to be broad and interdisciplinary and have a very creative mind. Now, I'm going to pin you down with just a follow-up question. Now, people talk a lot about talent, the fight for talent today. In your experience, in FinTech and the whole experience, in your career with so many areas, where do you think Hong Kong's most lacking in terms of talent, and in which areas, and how would we go about actually attracting and acquiring that talent base that we are not, really complete in ourselves?
Well, Victor, this is a strategic question. I think for Hong Kong, I'm so glad that FS mentioned, and you mentioned about the strategic approach. I think we have no choice. We have to look far and look high, aim high. And talent is at the core of it. In Hong Kong, we have to ask the question, how come these days we have a lot of talents, particularly in blockchain, for example, going to Dubai, the UAE, and going to Singapore and so on. You have to ask these questions and you say, why? Now, is it because we don't have a smart quarantine solution yet? But we have made progress. We have changed it to 3+4, right? And so, but we have to answer a question like this: how come we cannot attract these talents, to Hong Kong? So that means that we have to do a lot of regulatory reform, including our financial regulations to make it more tech entrepreneurs friendly, to make it more tech investors friendly. We have to think about our capital market. For example, do we have carbon trading infrastructure? Do we have green finance infrastructure developed faster and setting the pace for the region, for global as well, because we are interfacing with the EU, with mainland China, And Hong Kong itself, we got clean government, professional. We are the best place to actually pursue green finance excellence, for example. And if China is pushing for net zero carbon, achievement by 2060 and Hong Kong 2050, then we got to have a green roadmap. How do we take specific actions? So talent is at the core of this. So how do we do it? I think right now we have policies like tech talent entry program policy. We have the talent demand list and so on and so forth. We have ingredients in place, but we need this general assembly, this packaging, strategic packaging, improvement of our policy, for including immigration policy, how to attract the best talents here seamlessly, fast, and also with their families. Because if you don't attract their families, support the family, you cannot keep the talents, for example. And so a lot of systemic issues, and how do we make use of foreign talents to develop our own talents so that we don't leave them out, and using Sunny's term about anchor companies, I love that. I immediately, I want to invite the top tech companies in China, for example, around the world to come to Hong Kong, anchor themselves in Science Park, in Cyberport, etc., in the northern metropolis. And that way we have this strategic blood, I would say, input, new blood into the Hong Kong ecosystem. Imagine, for example, in northern metropolis, if we can have tens of thousands of engineers coming. And you know what they get? They get immediately a salary raise because the Hong Kong tax advantage. And then because they are right in the northern metropolis, they can go back to Shenzhen same day. No disruption to family life and so on. We have a lot of innovation that we can do here, and what I loosely call regime innovation, 制度創新, regulatory, So I think our regulators in Hong Kong have been doing so well. There's room for doing more in terms of industry development and also business development. So talents. We need that, and we have the ingredients for success because this is a free port. We have multilingual and multicultural kind of ingredients here. We are inclusive in thinking. The government has been promoting a caring community and so on. I don't see why we cannot attract talent. So it is about how to get it done. I think it's let's do it.
Thank you, George. Well said. And what you're really saying is instead of government making policies for innovation, they themselves have to innovate within government and government policy. And I think that's a very, very good thought. Okay, Simon.
Doing it.
Simon, let me turn to you. You're one of our most celebrated entrepreneurs. You taking your wee labs in the fintech all the way to a unicorn. And the first question I'd like to ask you is, you have now pursued that journey right from scratch. How have you thought about that process? And what aspects as a practitioner, having gone through this, that you found that worked, that didn't work? And more importantly, I'd like to ask you, as a unicorn, I'm sure you get a lot of invitations to be elsewhere. But why are you still in Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area? What is it that attracts you?
Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Hong Kong Foundation. Thank you, Eva. I really echo to the opening keynote speech that you talked about the process of innovation, right? I mean, for us, we were founded exactly 10 years ago. We were founded exactly 10 years ago in a very smelly office in Shanghai. And now we have 1,000 employees across Asia Pacific, with around 50 million users and 700 enterprise customers. For us, I think innovation is extremely important. You think about where we are at. We are at the fintech industry, right? The core sector is financial services. And financial services is a very peculiar sector. It's a sector where size, scale, history matters. We are facing competitors, very large banks who have more money, more people, and like 100 to 200 years of history. So we have to constantly ask ourselves, how do we win in a sector like this? And it's not by more money, not by more people, and we don't have a time machine. So it has to be through technology and data. That is what propel us forward. So if we look at the 1,000 odd employees we have today, close to half of them is actually in technology and R&D across the region, because we believe that that is the path for us to innovate, develop new products faster and better. And so I think that is the first part of getting us off the ground. But the second part of it, which is very similar to what you were talking about, and I find it extremely interesting, right, is about, if you look at the corporate transformation, a history of innovation of large corporates, right? As we transform from a small company to bigger and bigger, you have to constantly innovate. We always say, if you do not disrupt the market will disrupt you. You have to always catch up. And a lot of these innovations actually do not come from suddenly coming up with a new idea, hitting a jackpot. It doesn't come from that. It actually comes from an existing asset that you have built over the years, and how do you find a new life in it, and apply to a new environment, and how we actually thrive and grow. That is actually most of our innovations happen. For example, we first started off with a lending platform, and with that technology on risk management and KYC, we apply it to other markets, like in the mainland market. With that technology, we transform it to a lot of the account opening and the lending business, lending technology infrastructure for WeLab Bank in Hong Kong today. So it's about actually scaling from one to another. And an interesting and fun story to share, right? Some of you may have heard is Marvel, the company. Okay, many of you have watched the movies and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
They were founded in 1930s, and they actually filed for bankruptcy in the 90s. And they were sold to Disney for $4 billion 10 years after that. And now, of course, they are worth like 10 billion US. Now, what happened during those periods? Well, how did they transform to where they were, a bankrupted company, to what worked? For a lot of them, is actually they found that the core asset was the intellectual property of the comic characters. And fun part was, what they did was, they started licensing it to Sony and different movie companies to make movies to test whether the public audience accept seeing a comic character on a movie's big screen. When it did work, they started financing and started making their own movies. The first one being Iron Man, now is extremely popular, and the rest is history. So a lot of this actually has a successful formula. The formula allows the companies to continue to innovate, to develop new both technological and business innovations. I think that's the first part, right? The second part is Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a very strategic market to us. I'm born and bred in Hong Kong, so that's why we are here. In fact, 400 of our 1,000 employees reside in Hong Kong, so majority of them in Hong Kong, where we have the group office and the WeLand office, the WeLab Bank offices. This is a very interesting market for us, in particular for what you were referring to, the 0 to 1 and the 1 to 100, because it allows us to test a lot of new ideas and apply them. And what is also attractive to us is, in our area, we required opportunities and licenses for us to test ideas. And the Hong Kong government, in particular Hong Kong MA, were quite forward-thinking in issuing licenses on digital payment, digital insurance, and virtual bank licenses, quite a few years ahead of the rest of the Asian counterparts. So it allowed us to start attracting talents, testing new ideas, and through these, we can actually find out what worked and what didn't work, adjust, before we scale them into other markets as well. So we did a lot of these. So I think just to cut it short, I think these were actually great opportunities for us in Hong Kong.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Simon. I really think your journey is really such a classic. What we really need is to do what you've done in scale. You need to actually inspire and bring along a lot more young entrepreneurs like yourself. Now, before I let you go, I'm going to ask you a slightly deeper question. I totally agree with George in that, we really have to focus on some of the big global issues today, like sustainability, etc. But I think one of the biggest issues in the world today is actually the increasing inequality of income between the rich and the poor. This increasing inequality, I think, is a major issue. In fact, I think it even underlies our inability to solve other big issues. Okay, I just wonder, for you as a fintech entrepreneur, what can you do to use fintech to actually, do more in terms of equalization and bring the equality of income into a little better distribution and make this available to the man in the street in financing, etc.?
Thank you. Yeah, that is a very, very good topic. I think in our area, financial inclusion is a very important part to solve for inequality. If you look at the real issue of financial inclusion, it's a matter of cost, the cost to get served. For example, if it takes you a very high cost for a bank to serve you, the bank will not serve you. If it takes you like 2 hours to ride a bicycle to a bank, you will not go to a bank. And if you live in a village, if you have a very difficult access to lending facilities so that you cannot buy groceries or buy to top up your stocks in your supermarket, you will not do it, right? I think a big part about financial inclusion, or to solve for financial inclusion, is to reduce the entry barrier to financial services. Now, a lot of what we do, in particular in mainland China and also in Indonesia, is exactly that, right? These are markets where you have a large population, highly dispersed from big cities to rural. And how do we actually find technological solutions that allow them to, for example, gain access to credit? Those are actually a perfect example for technological innovation, where you can use alternate data, big data analytics, access to third-party data, combine them, and to do very accurate assessment. In mainland China, many years ago, we started working with Postal Savings Bank of China. A post office is a very interesting entity. Post office is about distribution and coverage of a society without the consideration of cost, because it's a government goods. So they have like post offices everywhere in China. And with that, they actually built little mini-marts. And we actually started lending money to those mini-marts so that they can, and to explore how we can actually help those SMEs to do better. Indonesia as well, we started doing similar things to see how we can use technology to solve for financial inclusion.
Oh, very good. Okay, I think we've talked enough among ourselves on the stage. I think it's time for us to open up. We have about 20 minutes. So really, I would like to turn it back over to the MC.
A big thank you to all our distinguished guests for your sharing. Please stay on stage. We'll now open up for a Q&A section from participants on site. May we first take questions from the floor? We have a mic runner here with us today, so please raise your hand for our mic runner to come to you. Please also let the audience know your name and then your question for the panelists. This gentleman here, please.
Hi, Victor to your right. My name is Franklin Lam. I'm from a public policy think tank. Thank you very much for framing the innovation process into 3 stages, 1 to 10,000 kind of framework. It's really useful to analyze this. So I'm trying to run through my very not tech sophisticated mind, the checklist requiring to take Hong Kong from 1 to 10,000. And I was thinking that you cited very good statistics. In Hong Kong, we've got some of the best universities in the world. And if you look at Greater Bay Area, we do have Shenzhen, which is highest PhD per capita in the whole of China. So innovation-wise, we've got the brains. And we got the market to test the products. I remember people were citing, in selling me a Tesla car, that we have the highest Tesla per capita in the world, in Hong Kong. So we're clearly trying to adopt things that in a lot of biased mind in the rest of the world are unsafe vehicles. So we're adventurous to try that. We also used the financial secretary used the consumption voucher. The way it got distributed was of extremely high risk. First go It doesn't work, innovate quickly, it works second time. So in other words, I think the aptitude is there to try and fail and re-examine and fix it. I think it's all there. And for the market in Shenzhen, it's 17 years, the median age, younger than any key city in China. So you can try within 150 kilometers of Hong Kong, Greater Bay Area, the youngest population, most highly educated, the richest, and then some of the poorest in China, all within this Greater Bay Area. So I was just thinking, Greater Bay Area being as big as Australia and Canada, if the question almost is, if within this very rich, complete smorgasbord of ingredients to make technology succeed from 1 to 10,000, the question should be, it would probably take an act of God for Hong Kong not to be the regional innovation hub, because all the ingredients are there. So
well said, well said.
So if it doesn't work, then we have to think, what can we do to make it work? First of all, it's the mixing of those ingredients in the kitchen. They're all there, but it doesn't mean you make a very good product out of it. Secondly, perhaps we've got some ingredients that are not quite enough, that we need to add from without the Greater Bay Area. Now, there I would imagine that we still have a lot of scientists from this region and outside of this region that would need to know how good we are, and then they will come. The audience, the panel mentioned that people have automatic increase in the disposable income to move to Hong Kong. And I would also add that for a lot of people who are still working in the West, they may not realize that, in particular from mainland China, they are technology-wise probably in the most productive ages from 30-something to 40-something, and they therefore have families. The panel did mention families are friendly. I think we're pretty family friendly compared to a lot of hubs in China, principally because the kids would want to play spend more than 3 hours playing games, and Hong Kong can offer that uniquely. And the spouses may be very addicted to Netflixes. Now, they cannot really live without Netflix once you got addicted to it. So the idea is we do offer something new, and then we can use these special ingredients of Hong Kong and draw talents that China somehow haven't quite managed to attract to come to Hong Kong. But we need a concerted effort to sell this.
Sorry, Dr. Fong, please answer the question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I think that's absolutely well said. I'd like maybe our panelists to also respond. But let me tell you, I think we have really all the ingredients in the kitchen. But I think we need to have an orderly process and conceptualize the process so there's a seamless transition from stage to stage. It's like you have all the ingredients. Yes, we can think about what we're missing, but that I think is second stage. We have so much on the table we can work with now. But if you don't have a good cook to put all the ingredients together, or to if you actually mixing up the process of the cooking, you're in big trouble. You won't turn out a very good dish. I think that's the first thing. The second thing is very simple. Despite the fact that we try to do our best to overcome it, we're still one country, two systems. We're still in separate customs territories. And we really need to continue to improve the seamless crossing of people, goods, information, funds, etc., across the boundary. And I think there's still a little bit of hindrance there, although I think we've done 90% of the problem. So that would be my thought. And now I think our government is really focused on putting the whole process together holistically with what Hong Kong can do, what mainland portion can do on the GBA, and how we can work together. Maybe our other panelists.
Oh, sorry, Sunny. Yeah. I think this is a great question and a great answer from Victor, but I just share some example. For example, why don't we think about, we are one of the very few places on earth that have such a big reserve, although we need the reserve to do all sorts of things, including the Hong Kong dollar peg and so on. But is there room for a strategic investment platform set up so that we can spearhead more talents coming to Hong Kong, attraction of more top caliber tech companies to Hong Kong, anchor companies and so on, we have to answer that question. And that will make the strategic investment decisions, faster, because now it's not big fish eating small fish. It's fast fish that win. So I think it's very important to answer these. It's all about taking actions. And then we have to ask the question, for example, as we think about the future, Dubai, for example, is fast becoming a regional and maybe global innovation hub. The reason is not just they have oil money, but because of their political will and because they attract talents from around the world, including Hong Kong. So what are we doing? Do we have anything that is less attractive than Dubai? No, I don't think so. Our weather is better. We have 4 seasons, for example. Anyway, you have to answer the question. It's all about taking actions. And of course, you need to know, once you are in such a good kitchen, the best kitchen in the Ottoman Empire time, you have all the ingredients. Then the question is, what is the menu? And who is the cook, the assistant chef and everything? And do you do the chicken boiling fast enough or in the right way, and so on? It's all about implementation and actions. So I think, sorry, I mean, it takes a few weeks for brainstorming, to say the least. But now we have a wonderful window of the policy address of this new administration. Feel free to provide input to the government. I think this is where you can do your fair bit.
Thank you.
I have to say thank you to all. Particularly, WeLab is a proud unicorn from Cyberport, so I have to advertise for Simon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, George. Maybe, Sunny, you'd like to...
Thank you, Victor. I think we were on the topic of attracting talent. And we mentioned about Northern Metropolis.
Yes.
So simple math. Northern Metropolis plus the land recognition outside Ma Liu Shui, we are talking about 250 hectares of land, additional INT land for Hong Kong. So it's 4 times of what we have today. So simple math, we need at least, actually more, 4 times of talents. So where do we get them? Do we just follow like Han Chin or Zhuhai by offering 500,000 RMB to be a master graduate or PhD graduate and they will come? No, I don't think so. It's the entire ecosystem that drives. Look at Science Park, a small example. 5 years ago, we have about less than 10,000 population there. So what drove this growth as it went to 17,000, 18,000? It's not because of me. It's not because of policy. The policy and the support given. And then we as a INT platform and Cyberport as well, we provide what the government funding and policy given to us, and we have to make it work. If we don't make it work, it's our fault. It's that simple. So in the coming days, I look forward to what FS said. The roadmap will be coming in 6 months. So we want to look into what will be attracting talents. For example, living. Okay, we have a no-sell example in Science Park. I tell you, it started in April. The occupancy for one type of room is totally full, and the wait list is at least 6 months. One type of room. Okay, there are 2 more types. They are not so popular. One type of room we've proven it is very successful. So in the future, if we have to attract more talent coming to Hong Kong, it's living is a problem. So we have to look into that. Salary, if you look at salary in Shenzhen versus Hong Kong, I don't think it's a big issue. Living is a problem. So we have to look at that. Yeah. Funding, actually, Hong Kong has lots of INT funding. So we have to bundle all of them. Victor mentioned very nicely about 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 beyond. And Hong Kong does have a good funding support, especially for helping tech company to do proof of concepts. But we need to promote that more because there's a whole bunch of R&D funding available.
You know, what's behind all your very valuable, responses to a good question is I think the big difference between where we were, let's say 20 years ago and today, is that our government is no longer saying we leave everything to the market. We have a very proactive government today that is willing to listen, willing to participate, and looking for results.
Can we talk about strategic tech fund? We have a conflict of interest. Oh, you too.
Okay. I know,
Maybe you should not get into that. Okay.
That's a sensitive area.
Sorry. Thank you, Dr. Fong. I thought your keynote speech was absolutely brilliant, and George and other panelists, it was excellent sharing today. Now, I am Mo from the Hong Kong Chartered Governance Institute, and of course, governance is the big issue because governance sets the stage for attracting foreign investments into Hong Kong. One of the big issues globally is actually climate change, and we see that the government has made a really good response with a cross-government agency. Now, I know that, for example, virtual assets platform are coming up. There's reform by the FSTB, and the solution seems to be we will leave it to the PI, but not the retail. So is that a good solution? Is that not a good solution, etc.? I was just wondering that, when you have specific topics of discussions, is it worth it to have some sort of cross-government agency on specific issues that we really want as an economy to target? And of course, governance is a big issue. The other issue is, for example, George, you do an absolutely wonderful job with schools. You were showing me around the brilliant international school you're doing. But what about Indians? What about Hebrew? We need people to come to bring their families, their wives or husbands, because sometimes the female, that's the innovator. And being on the Equal Opportunities Commission myself, I'm very sensitive to the language and racial equality issues. So do we not need some sort of overall plan to attract not just the innovators, but the sort of ecosystem, the environment around that, to make it more attractive for them to come in? So that is why I think maybe on specific topics, we really should be having some sort of cross-agency collaboration with the industry, etc.
Yeah.
I was just thinking if this is a good idea or not.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. I wish, in fact, Secretary Sun Dong was supposed to be part of our panel. Unfortunately, he's taken sick and couldn't be here today. He would be the perfect person to answer that question. But having said that, I'd like to start with Simon. You've attracted a lot of talent. Where are the stumbling blocks? And then George, you could come in from your Cyberport perspective. You've done so much to try and create the environment.
Yeah, thank you, Victor. I think if you look at talents, right, I think in addition to a fair compensation, living environment, those are important, right? They look for market opportunity. They want to work in a market where there's opportunity for growth. So I think we need to be able to create that market opportunity for them. If you tell people that you're coming to Hong Kong and just work on a 7 million population, they will not come here because to them, they have other choices. But I think we need to be able to sell and promote the GBA, the Belt and Road, meaning going both the north and the southbound direction as our market opportunities as well, not just the Hong Kong market. I think that part is extremely important. Right now, what we're facing in talent, acquisition of talents in Hong Kong, we need to understand it, right? It's a supply issue. The supply issue is creating a lot of bigger problems right now. The supply issue is number one because there are people moving outside of Hong Kong and expats find it difficult to migrate to Hong Kong. I think that created a massive supply issue. And what made it worse is because there's a supply issue, in particular for financial services, right? It drives the salary much higher, meaning the same level of expertise of experience today versus, let's say, 5 years ago has gone up by quite a lot, let's say 20, 30%. And that makes the cost of running the companies even more difficult. So we need to tackle that. I think this is something that we seriously need to look at, especially for technology in our area, financial services, that people are moving out, and we need to find a solution.
Okay, George, very quickly, because I want to get to our...
Yeah, thank you, Victor. I agree with Simon totally. I think we have a lot of things to do to address most questions, a very important question. In Cyberport, for example, we benefit from, Simon agrees, right? The presence of ISF Academy. So because I have been working closely with the Academy to attract the mothers, the father of these youngsters to Hong Kong, because without a school, you cannot have the family here, and the key talent won't be attracted and retained in Hong Kong. But the second thing is we are also dealing with new opportunities, as Victor knows about RCEP. We've got 15 economies, and then more interest from the Middle East in terms of putting more money into non-fossil fuel and ESG investments, and Hong Kong is an ideal hub for that. So they come here. Don't forget that we have a 1.6 billion population of Muslims, and if we want to attract these talents, be it tech investors or tech talents to Hong Kong, vis-a-vis Dubai, I think we should beef up the support system for schools and so on. And so Mo is right. And then if we say that India is the next economy, on the world stage, they just surpassed the UK, for example, in terms of GDP. We have a wonderful Indian community in Hong Kong as well. But have we made more strategic investment into strengthening that bonding with the global Indian business connections and so on? Now, we have good efforts in the government, including Invest Hong Kong and so on, but we have not come to the point where we have a tech concierge. Like, for example, if I look at a good semiconductor design team, I look at a good top caliber AI team, a top cybersecurity team from Israel and so on, how do I attract them here? How do I have one-stop shopping to make sure they and their family feel comfortable to come to Hong Kong right away? And how do we do it fast? We do have, procedure, due process, but we need entrepreneurship in the government as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely, George. Really, just summarizing what you guys said, I think, frankly, all the aspects of schooling, living environment is absolutely important, but they won't even consider coming here if it had not been for the opportunities. And I'm so glad you mentioned RCEP. It's against those more strategic background that we need to really position Hong Kong. Our access to the consumer in Asia, which is now going to be the majority of the global consumption. We're right in the thick of the most vibrant market in the world. There's no better place to access that opportunity. From there, then you take away all the other objections to moving here, which
Victor.
is, the family and et cetera.
I'm sorry, Victor, if I may, just
Yeah,
one
so
point.
yeah, please.
And you need to have strategic investment capital on the table to attract these very top firms to Hong Kong. You just look
You
at
won't let me go
Singapore,
on that
you
one.
just look at everything. And I have to thank Victor for his leadership in pushing towards this strategic direction. We need a platform so that we can say to these top caliber people that we have money on the table as well. We want to make sure you come and you can build your business, attract your talents, and we can open door for you into the mainland. And we have to do that, and we can go to RCEP, particularly the ASEAN region.
Right.
But don't forget Japan and Korea as well, because it's very important for Northeast Asians to work together.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we need to move to the next question.
Sorry, we have one more question from the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hello, I'm the lady to ask a question. I'm Doris Leung, the founder and CEO of Diamond Cap. We are the very first barrier-free taxi service in Hong Kong. I think we have go through the stage that Victor just teach us. We start from zero, from the idea. Now we have barrier-free taxi service in Hong Kong, and then we scale up with the peers, okay? Now I'm going to have my next stage is called Diamond Cat 2.0. That is, we are going to match with more technology support. Now I have very great tech partner. They are giant telecom company in Hong Kong. But when I talked to my partners. They said, okay, Doris, you have to do this. Okay, you have to have your fundraising. And I asked if I should ask the government to get the technology funding because it's going to have the innovation on technology plus social. I want to make it as a new kind of Uber-like platform because Uber come to me, Doris, I really want to work with
Crowdsourcing.
Yeah, they want to work with you because we are making some very special service, wheelchair accessible taxis. That is our pioneer service in Hong Kong. But I don't want to work with them at the moment because I want to make my own platform really focusing on quality driver. Recently, a retired school principal come to me and said, Doris, I want to be your diamond cab driver. And he's going to be on road later this month. So he really inspires me how I can pull in all the quality driver to make a best taxi driver pool in Hong Kong and then extend my branding and also experience to other aging societies, especially in Asia. But the question is, my tech partners told me, Doris, if you want to apply for any funding from the government, it will spend you half a year at least. Okay? My question is simple. Please give me some advice. Should I go to the government to apply funding or go to the private market? Yes or no? Thank you.
Well, I think, Sunny, I'm going to let you take this one. You deal with this every day.
Thank you, Victor. I said I work for Innovation and Technology Commission since 2006, but I didn't have a salary. So the official should answer your questions, but I can give you some advice. It really depends on your milestones. If you have a strong tech partners, and who are ready to do something landing, and you have certain funding that you can go to support that, don't wait, just go ahead. And of course, among the Innovation and Technology Fund, there are some funds which have a quicker process. The chairman is also here. The TVP chairman, Technology Voucher Program. And of course, if you're looking for a bigger chunk of investment of project, for example, you're talking about several million or up to 10 million. You're looking for enterprise supporting scheme, that will have to go through a very rigid process. That's public money, I hope you understand. But if it's a smaller amount, okay, how fast could that be? 2 months, 3 months? 3 months. 3 months. See? 3 months.
Chairman
okay.
speaking.
Yeah. So it depends on the amount of INT funding you're looking for. If the bigger, the more process it has to go through. It's public money. Okay?
Thank you. Can we take one last question from the media, please?
Good afternoon, panelists. This is Oscar from the South China Morning Post. Just now, the Financial Secretary said the talent is in the field are still increasing despite the pandemic. So, however, it's vital to attract talents to come to Hong Kong if we want to build a regional innovation hub. So that brings to my questions. So what obstacles do you panelists foresee in maybe like next 1 or 2 years to recruit talent and their family, like George just mentioned, to Hong Kong if the restriction and quarantine are still imposed in that case? And and also echoing the Financial Secretary has noted, what kind of measure are you or the industry more looking forward to the government measures rolling out in the next 6 months? Thank you.
George.
Thank you. Great question. I think I have traveled recently, so I probably am a little bit qualified to provide some input in terms of smart quarantine policy. I have traveled to Sydney, Singapore, London, Bangkok, Jakarta. So I have been in quarantine hotels several times. So I think we are on the right track, and we need a bit of patience with the government, but we do need to move fast. I like the government's approach in terms of counting on real relevant data to adjust the policy. The whole world is moving towards this opening up, but I think we don't open up for the sake of opening up. We have to keep vigilance. Even Japan is saying that they will open up starting October, but I think we can do that. Hong Kong is a smart place. We have smart citizens. We have smart economy. And before you board a plane to Hong Kong, you need to do a PCR. Upon landing, you do another one. And then you need to do 3 more PCR tests. And every day before you go out, you need to do an RAT to have a negative result. I think we do have built-in mechanism to protect the public. And all we need to do is do a bit of fine-tuning as we go. And we can be as open as other places. Other places are doing a better job than Hong Kong in terms of marketing. So a lot of places, they say they are open, but they also have to be very careful. But Hong Kong, we say less, but we do more, I hope. The other thing about talents is we really have to think about a holistic approach, a systemic approach on how to, Hong Kong is like our home. We need to actually take the gardener's approach. We have to think about how to make it better, how to make it more attractive, how to attract the right people here. This is a community. So if we say we are already a leading international financial center with an army of 300,000 professionals, then now we are saying we want to be a global innovation hub. So do we need another 300 or 500,000 of engineers and scientists and technicians to be here? So how do we do that? It is really very important for us to think about that. It's really little things. The devil is in the detail, and the key is actions, and the success factor is speed and team efforts. So.
Okay. Well, I think we've come to the end of our time. Before we end, I'd like to see whether our panelists have any final words. Simon, any?
Yeah, thank you. I think just if I may say something very quick on the last question, right? I think, of course, I agree that opening up borders in all directions without quarantine is essential. But I think in between, while we're waiting for it, I think we need to be really good at doing transactions, deals, attracting talents virtually. I mean, it's something that we have to do, right? I mean, over the last few years, we've been doing that. We cannot travel out. I mean, similar to George, I've been out of Hong Kong for a third to half of the time this year. And we've raised funds, we've bought a bank and stuff like that, all virtually. And it's just something that we have to do. We cannot wait for things to happen for us. I think we need to take control of the situation and start making things happen. I think that's the time.
Not
the
a
time
moment to lose. Yeah. George, any?
Yeah.
Just
Thank
quick
you.
final word?
I think my final words is let's aim far and high. Let's go for global innovation hub, and let's take strategic actions as well, not just the day-to-day, the thing in front of us, and let's do it. Thank you.
Yeah. Sunny?
I think technology and talent actually has no boundary. When people can move around, and technology, if I don't have a technology, I can adopt it, I can collaborate. But what does have a geographical issue is policy and the culture. So we have to treasure, we are within GBA. And I hope, like FS said, the roadmap will be out, and that we have good news that support Hong Kong INT and make us work as an international INT hub.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I don't want to take any more of your time. All I want to say is, what we've discussed today, I think is not only one aspect, an important aspect of Hong Kong. I think it's fundamentally the core of Hong Kong's long-term competitiveness. I think we have to get this innovation piece right, and that would underlie our strategic direction for the next decades. So I think, thank you very much for your participation. And I'd like to thank our panel members for very active participation and all of you for attending today. And on behalf of our Hong Kong Foundation, thank you very much for attending.
Thank you for your sharing. May we put our hands together for our keynote speaker and distinguished panelists for their invaluable insights. Lastly, thank you all for joining us today. and I look forward to seeing you all again at the next Insight Forum featuring Mr. Bernard Chan on October 27th. So please stay tuned. I wish you all good health. Thank you and goodbye.